Takes a couple people in IBM to do a lot of things, but we're here. So thank you. Thank you for joining us here at Ignite, a great conference we've had here. So I hope you all have stopped by the IBM booth. If not, make sure you do get a chance. There are some socks available. Yes, I said socks available for those of you who spend a little time there. And they're very nice looking socks. I should have a little demo of them, but I do not. And then we already announced the Enter to Win a Surface Pro. Hopefully you all given your business cards to Herb in the front here. If you've not, please pass them up. You'll get to take that with you today. So our great partner, Microsoft, has been kind enough to donate that for us. And if you haven't used one yet, they are really an amazing device. So it would be a great win. So my name is Monique Olette. I'm the Vice President for Global Offering Development for Digital Workplace Services in our Global Technology Services of IBM. So yes, that's a lot of acronyms, I know, but I've tried to spell them out for you all, so I'm not using total IBM acronyms here today. But really my job is about developing some offerings that are specific to the end user environment, that really increase end user productivity for your end users, and also lower the cost. And we're doing that in a number of ways that we'll talk to today. And what we found is our clients are really interested in, how do I bring this all together to deliver a true end user experience that is differentiated than what they've been using. And for those of us who have been in the end user space for a while, I've been in 20 plus years. I won't give you the exact number, but 20 plus years. And we had many years where there wasn't a lot of activity other than trying to figure out how do you take cost out. And we didn't really care all that much about what the end user experience was about. We didn't really care if they were super happy or just sort of kind of happy, as long as it was like functioning and working, but super low cost, and the lower the cost, the better, that was okay. It's all changed now. And why has it changed? Well, we have this great shift in the market, in our labor market, right? We have all these, I'll say millennials coming in, but there's also those of us that have been around that are not millennials, but that use technology in our everyday lives as consumers, which wasn't how it worked before, right? We interact with websites, we get customer service via chat when we're using it as a consumer. So what we expect when we come to work is a similar experience, or a better experience, hopefully, right? We want to make sure that we have that consumer-like experience, that it's really easy, it's really intuitive on how I get support, it's intuitive on how my device works, and it makes me better. It makes me more productive. It makes my life easier. That's what we expect from our IT and our work environment. And that's what we all have to provide. Because guess what? If they don't get it from you as a worker, they'll go someplace else. I had a customer tell me not long ago, a senior vice president in the healthcare industry, that said, he asked his HR, how many people do we offer jobs to that don't accept because of the IT, the technology they're going to use? You know what the answer was? It's amazing, 30%. 3 out of 10 people go somewhere else. That's their first choice of people. The best talent out there are going to most likely a competitor and getting a job because they have a better technology experience. How much do you think that costs that company to go through that talent, to get to the point of actually offering someone a job? Pretty big expense there, right? And then to have to go to the next people and offer them a job and go through the same process of finding that talent. So it's an impact to our business on whether the employee experience is good, okay, or not great. And so this is what we're going to be talking about today, is how do we really enable that experience? How do we make a difference here? So what's going on, right? We have this perfect technology revolution. And what's really happening is we have things like devices everywhere, and nobody has just one device anymore. We all have multiple devices. And guess what? Some of us have health devices. Some of us are using technology that doesn't even communicate necessarily, but it's helping us in our everyday. Printers, everything out there, right? There's a multitude of devices that we all have. And then we have the rise of big data. So I'll have a stat here in a little bit, but think of all that data that's generating. What do you do with all that data? It's good data. We know there's information out there, but no human can possibly process all of that data for it to be something that's of value to us in our everyday lives. So what do we use? Artificial intelligence. How will we be leveraging artificial intelligence to actually improve that end user experience, to have an impact, to use the data, to make something different, to have a change in this environment? Over $46 billion connected devices by 2021. I mean, it just keeps getting bigger, right? I mean, every time I put this statistic up, it just keeps getting bigger. I think in 2020, it was like 23 billion. So now it's going to 46 billion in 2021. So it's not going away. There's not less. There's not a consolidation, most likely. It just keeps growing. 50% of enterprises will employ some sort of cognitive, as we call it in IBM, more cognitive, but artificial intelligence by 2021. And guess what? Artificial intelligence that term is used in so many ways. In IBM, it's different than in a lot of other places because we use Watson, which is machine learning, different than artificial intelligence, right? That cognitive solution you have in place is learning, has to be taught, has to understand, has to learn and grow and get better all the time. That's not something you put in and leave and go away. It's something that's a constant feeding of information in order to make it better and more valuable. And I mean, 2.5 quintillion, bytes of data created every single day. So again, we can't process all this. We got to figure out what's good, what's the interesting part about it. How do we really get that information out of that we can use? So we're really doing this pervasive change. I think, again, for those of us who have been around for a while, on the dark side, on the black side, we had this environment that was very standardized, right? All of us were going towards, how do we make this standard? How do we make this the same for everybody? How do we have our end users have the same everything? How do we leverage all of that for the lowest cost? We don't really care what they want. We just want it to make it standard. Now we go into the bright side, right, which is today. It's not of the future, it's today. It's about connected devices, connected users. All of this information that we have out there, making it better, using that data to drive productivity, to drive a different experience. There's a really big data sources that's changing, right? We used to have this, it was my laptop, it was my tablet, it was my phone, smartphone. Guess what? It's now IoT devices. There are devices out there that aren't connected to an end user, but they're still giving us data and information, and the business is still relying on it because it might be driving the supply chain, it might be driving revenue. So all of that data out there, we have to process and understand, and how do we really use that, again, to make it better. And then we have to provide it in the cloud format and as a service, right? In a consumption-based model. Because nobody wants to pay for something that they're not using or they're not using all the time, or for an enterprise or for a device. They want to use it as they consume it. So we have to provide it in a different way to our end users. And then we have to use analytics and cognitive to make sure that we're getting that data, getting that information out of the data to actually provide better and more secure sources of information back to our employees to make them productive. So one of the things I talked a little bit about was the IoT, right? So this is just some example of, IoT, instead of like an end user being, kind of a cost center, right? They're expensive to me. IoT has these, again, like in supply chain, inventory tracking. Think about a large mass retailer that has to track all of their produce because they want to know exactly where it is. Is it fresh? Is it old? Is it on the truck? Has it been on the truck too long? That's all a cost to them. And it's also a revenue driver to them, right? The better fresh food they have out there in the aisles at the right time, the more they sell it, the faster they sell it, the more money they get. So all of this information, this data, this tracking becomes extremely important, and it drives the business. Again, it's not a cost center. It's not an IT cost center. It's IT driving the business and helping the CIO be that change agent. Same with building insights. How do we know where people are? How do we know what experience they're having in our buildings? How do we understand the security of that building? How do we know what's going on with the technology in that building? All of those pieces. We have a lot of facilities companies coming to us and wanting to have this building insights. And then we also have a use case around Maximo Health. So Maximo Health Insights, asset digitization. So how do you really track where those assets are, let's say in a hospital or clinic? They're not connected to an end user. You can't ask the end user, you can't track the end user. You have to know where those assets are, right? And if you're a healthcare company, that asset cost is huge. And understanding where it is and what's happening with it is really an important part of their business. So we see these new demands arising and really understanding that what's happening in the modern workplace, as we call it, is user centricity or user connectivity. So being able to access something like Teams, Skype for Business, and collaborate across teams, whether it's in a different building or in a different country, and being able to have that information and that connectivity to the other users within, not just within your company, but maybe even outside of your company, right? I work with companies all the time and partners, Microsoft, others that we connect with in a different way now. We connect with in a video conference way. We connect in a collaborative way where we're sending messages back and forth during meetings, those kind of things, and we're using whiteboards during meetings. That's what the collaboration is going to be in the user world. So it's a borderless workplace. It's actually, again, connected users so that we're all connected, whether we work for the same company or not, but we're able to connect and really collaborate and work together. Intelligent automation so that things are happening. I don't have to be an end user and figure out what I need to do to solve a problem. It's already being solved for me before I even know it's going to be a problem. So it's automating all of that process around that and making sure that upgrades are being done, that issues with my computer that need to be fixed are being taken care of, again, before I might even know there's an issue. And then you all having that world-class IT service and support. So how do you really do that and deliver? Because that's what the end users expect in this environment. So you've probably seen this chart many, many times. I know we've shown it many times over the years. It hasn't changed much really from the fact of you have to move right to left. So what's on the right side? The right side is about labor. It's about people. It's about using sort of standardized tools that have been out there for a while. And it's about having that and moving that over, shifting it to the left, which is automated, which is self-healing technology, which is Watson chat, where we're actually anticipating how the clients are interacting with us so that we can gauge how to fix the problem, even though they might not be saying the right words, but we're understanding it. It's about understanding the problems that might be happening in advance and solving them or sending alerts that let people solve them themselves. It's about providing a self-help environment for those of us who don't want to talk to anybody, who don't even want to chat with somebody, that we can go in and find the right solution to our problem very easily and not having 100 different answers come up, but having the right answer come up. That's what the right to left strategy is. And at the end of the day, it makes all of us on the right side, the labor portion of it, be extremely important of what's left in that area, because you have to be super smart. Because anything that's going to be on that side is the really, really, really hard stuff, right? But the rest of it's all going to be solved with automation, with cognitive, and self-healing. So the problem is today in most of our environments, it's all puzzle pieces that are a little bit chaotic, for lack of a better term, a little bit disparate, so that you have pieces, you might even have different owners within IT or different owners outside of IT. And really, how do you put all of that together and make that work together and have it be a functioning sort of solution that really solves, again, the workplace issues. And this is the puzzle pieces that we've put together with an integrated modern workplace. And so what does that mean? What does that really mean? So really, it's a lot of components. It's a lot of our standard offerings that we've put together and put around a framework of what we're calling the IBM Services Platform with Watson. That provides that cognitive automation, analytics, and cloud format so that it's all standardized. And then we're delivering it with the Microsoft 365 as the platform. So that means you can manage a device, whether it be an Office device, an OS device, Droid device. It's the choice that the end users bring in and that IT decides to offer their end users. So you're not limited. You don't have to pick a solution and be limited. It provides it across. That platform supports whatever you're going to put in. And guess what? You know, 5 years from now, it'll be something different. Maybe 2 years from now, it'll be something different that you'll want to add to that. And that's what this will do, a flexible environment that lets you add that. Device as a service, so that you can buy a device with all of the management around it, with including a virtualized application, and that it's delivered to you as a service in a consumption-based model. We have that, and including that application and desktop virtualization. And then there's an endpoint security. So the security is standardized across this. It's a common solution, and it's delivered the same way across any device or any operating system or any application. Same with the data application security. And then we have what we call our Service Desk with Watson. Our Service Desk with Watson is really how we leverage cognitive and analytics to improve that service desk experience. So for those of us, again, that use this service desk for years, we know that sometimes it's a pretty frustrating process, right? Sometimes we don't always get the smartest person on the phone, or at least the person that might understand exactly what we're trying to solve, or we have a really complex problem we're trying to figure out. What our Service Desk with Watson is really leveraging Watson and putting together what we call cartridges. So there's some knowledge platforms in there, like let's say on Win 10. We've created a cartridge which with most of the questions that you're going to have with Win 10. And where do we get that information? Guess what? It's not just a knowledge base that we get information from. It's going out and looking at social media information. It's looking at user manuals. We go in and we train Watson on all of that. They might pull from wikis. They might pull from blogs of users that talk about what the issues have been. So it's not one source, and then it's getting constantly updated. But that cartridge is available. We put that together, so any client that we support gets that framework and that cartridge to go out and be successful with Win 10 support from a Watson perspective, and then we deliver it either from a self-service where you can go in as a user and get that information, or you can chat with Watson. So think about chatting with Watson, who understands all of this and isn't just a resource trying to pull in from their knowledge base that might or might not be updated with the most up-to-date information, but it's Watson that can search, in a extremely fast time frame and find the right answer. For you. So isn't that what we all want? We want to get an answer fast. We want to make sure that it's the correct answer. And Watson comes back and says, did I answer your question? And if I didn't, help me understand what didn't work about that. So again, Watson always learning. We also then have some other pieces in here, the network and the network integration and understanding. Does the network support everything that we're trying to do within the workspace environment? The identity and access management. We offer all of the maintenance services around this. We also have, the cloud-based services that, again, deliver this in a consumer-like fashion. I need to, one click. Video. That's my intro.
But the words should never get in the way of the story. At IBM, we apply the same standard to workplace technology. We believe the tools we use to work should never get in the way of our work. That goes for our phones, laptops, video conferencing software, and every flavor of corporate app. The tools should work when and where they're needed, no matter if the users are in Bangalore, Berlin, or Boulder. No matter if they're at the cottage, a coffee shop, or client meeting. You know who else believes the tools should work anytime and anywhere? Employees of every organization, everywhere. That puts IT departments in the hot seat. IT has to manage all the devices, applications, and data. IT has to ensure they're always available and always secure. IT has to provide the services and support and stay within budget. IT managers of the world, we at IBM understand. And so does Microsoft. They have addressed these demands head-on with Microsoft 365. It bundles the Windows 10 operating system, Office 365 software, and enterprise mobility and security for secure, anytime, anywhere access to devices, corporate apps, and data. As a gold-certified partner for Microsoft 365 products, IBM helps customers worldwide to make the most of this powerful suite of products. We show our customers how to optimize Microsoft 365 for their specific workforce requirements. Then we roll up our sleeves to help them migrate and manage the solution. IBM services for Microsoft 365 include device management and Windows 10 migration services, collaboration services, security services, and workplace support services. Our unique approach to these services draws on our latest advances in analytics, automation, and AI with the power of Watson. Consider IBM's digital workplace services, your global team, to maximize the value of Microsoft 365. We'll help you ensure your digital workplace tools never get in the way of your team's work, and that supporting and servicing those tools won't blow your budget. Happy employees? Powerful IT? Let's get started. To learn more about IBM services for Microsoft 365, visit our URL or contact your IBM representative.
So, I mean, why do this? Why spend, time for us in putting this all together? Why is this of interest to you? Well, it's really about the value being comprehensive. The services are pre-integrated, so we've done the hard work in trying to figure out how to put this all and integrate this all together. Pre-engineered, enabling accelerated time to value, so you can get started faster and have a very secure knowledge that it's going to work when it's out there. Reduce TCO, so we're reducing that cost of the IT cost of supporting all of this in the workplace, and it's delivered through the cloud consumption model that I talked about before. End-to-end security, extremely important, so that we've done the security work for you. We understand what the security is that needs to be available across all of these solutions, and then complete service governance, so it's all integrated into a common service governance model, so we guarantee the control and the quality. And then the centralized continued improvement with Watson, so we use Watson Analytics. We're always pulling data and understanding that data to understand where the problems are, where the problems might be going to be, and anticipating that and putting actions in place so that we can solve those problems before they hit you as a problem. So we bring down that IT complexity and reduce that time to value again. We're really uniquely positioned. So if you look up in that blue box to the right there, it talks about our patents, and I'll talk a little bit about one patent that we recently released. But we have a lot of devices that we support, so we've used all of this. That's really what we had. But when I talk about what the value is of the solution, you got to go down to the bottom. Cut deployment times by 75% with dynamic provisioning and intelligent automated deployment. Reduce the service tickets, 10 to 30% reduction in the first year. And then with our cognitive, save up to $30 per device annually on licensing costs, and reduce the security incidents by 33%. And there's a cost for all of you and with the security incident, so we can help you understand what that cost is when we reduce it by 30% by applying the Windows Defender. So where do you start? We have a roadmap for this, and it's really about starting at the assessment and helping us understand where you all are in this process, doing that, what we call persona assessment, understanding who your end users are out there. I'm sure this has been the path that IBM has taken with about 400,000 end users. So in IBM, we have about 13 to 15 personas for 400,000 users. And that persona dictates what kind of devices we have access to choose from. It determines what kind of service and support we get, and it determines how we get that service and support. So it's a very, very comprehensive persona-based service and support that we provide our clients, that we've leveraged off of what IBM has done internally. We do the periodic ticket analysis. So we go out and have Watson Analytics look at what is currently going on with your tickets. So this is pretty powerful, and clients kind of go, oh, okay, so I'm sure I know all of this, right? I think I know where I generate my calls from. I've had many clients that we've pulled this analysis for them, and and they usually have a competitor doing this work for them now, but we've pulled information. I had one client where we pulled information. Their top call was a level 2 call where they were sending people out on site to do software deployments. So think about the cost of that $200, $250 call to send somebody on site. And guess what? They had a software deployment tool. They didn't need to send somebody out on site, but just their processes hadn't been updated. They were just letting it go through and eating that cost. They were shocked that was it. That was an easy one, by the way, but there's a lot of them that are a lot harder than that. But we move on to understanding the virtualization strategy, helping build business cases around all of this as we go through, and then providing really a workplace as a service, again, in the consumption model, leveraging our partnership with Microsoft and making sure that we have that cognitive feed in there so that we have Watson Engaged that's always learning from your environment and gets customized to your environment. And as you can see, this is about a 12-month cycle here. So one of the, I talked about all of our patents I have, and one of our patents that we developed, a guy on my team, Greg Boss, I'll give him credit, Greg Boss, but we heard a lot from clients is like, I have all these devices out there. I have a lot of different applications. I have a lot of different end users out there. I don't really know what the health is of my environment at any point in time. I don't really understand, you know, if things are working well, if they're not, who's happy, who's not. So Greg developed this great tool that we're calling our device health management tool. We've named it a couple times, but that's what we're sticking with, I think. And really goes out there and gives your devices a score. So I'll play the video for you now. I think.
Every device eventually reaches the end of its utility to be replaced by a new device that perpetuates the cycle. How can a business maximize its investment in all these devices? Today, enterprises refresh end-user devices according to a single metric, time. But devices enter service on different schedules. Different models are scattered across geographical locations, and every device has a life of its own, as unique as the person who uses it. Some serve far more demanding workloads than devices of the same model. The particular work methods of end users place wildly varying strains on hardware, memory, and storage. The performance of some devices may be severely compromised long before their refresh date, while others are in perfectly serviceable condition long after theirs. With so little visibility into a device's true health, how do administrators prioritize refresh dates against available funding? Analyze each device's own unique properties and statistics, and refresh it precisely at the right moment with Watson Expense Management Device Refresh. Watson Expense Management extracts structured and unstructured data from the enterprise and from every device to generate a unique and accurate health score for each individual device. IBM Analytics correlates data points from multiple device-related sources to produce a device health score between 0 and 100%. With Watson recommendations, organizations gain insights into projected replacement needs over a timeline, tuned to their unique refresh criteria, assisting in developing budgeting forecasts for annual planning. It's time to stop treating devices like lemmings. Treat them like the individuals they are. With Watson Expense Management Device Refresh, you can optimize spending, device performance, and user experience to keep employees productive and happy. Why randomize when you can strategize? Explore the benefits of Watson Expense Management Device Refresh by contacting IBM.
Yeah, so again, that really came from a lot of feedback from clients on saying, this is how I refresh is based on, you know, my lease end date. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with that device should be refreshed. I have other devices that really are newer, but they're not functioning that well, but I have to leave them out there because I've got these others that maybe could go another year, but I've got to refresh them because that's what we've selected as the depreciation date. So a great tool, I think, from us to help you understand what your environment is looking like from a health and device perspective. So it's now my pleasure to introduce Alan Chang from Air Canada. He's the Director of Operations and Digital Enablement. We'll let him speak. Do you know how to turn that up here? Is it on?
I think so. Hello?
Yep. Okay. Yeah, technology experts up here. Yep. So Alan was kind enough to come up and talk a little bit about what's going on at Air Canada. Maybe, Alan, you can give us just kind of a brief overview of what you do at Air Canada and what's going on in the workplace environment there.
Sure. So actually, that's the hardest part for me. So Air Canada, we're the largest domestic international carrier in Canada. We serve about 48 million customers per year across 6 continents, probably around 200 airports. And we have a fleet of about close to 400 aircrafts, probably one of the youngest and most fuel-efficient fleets in the world. We're also the only North American, I'm trying to get this right, North American Skytrax 4-star full-service international carrier as voted by customers with Skytrax. So that's a little bit about us. So.
Awesome, yeah, thanks. So, and tell us a little about your role there and what kind of challenges you face in the workplace environment for Air Canada. Because it's a little bit different for our airliner, right?
Yeah, so in all honesty, this role is actually pretty new. I kind of changed roles from an innovation perspective and moved into this new digital organization that our IT group has put together. So I'm part of the Operations Digital Enablement Group. My role is really focused around the airline operations, around flight operations, in-flight services, maintenance, operation control, and airports.
Yeah.
So, I focus around, the word digital, as, we've been here 2 days, and I think, if I could get rich just, getting paid for every time that word's being said. And it's a tricky word, so, when we look at what we're doing in this space, we're really looking at taking technology and services and trying to deliver the best human experience. And I think that, being IT, we tend to forget that at the end of the day, what we're doing here is really creating a human experience. So that's how we look at it, and my role is specifically focused on operational employees.
How do you handle the different technologies that are always coming up and the different, I'm sure you get hit with a lot of requests from the business and we want to do this, we want to do that. How do you really handle that?
Really, like my previous, really look ahead. We look ahead 3 to 5 years, tracking technology. If you look at anything that's being spoken about here, if you really want to do this right, you've got to be looking at this like 3 to 5 years ago. The letters AI is like digital, it's everywhere. But, we were probably looking at this 5, 6 years ago. So it's really, really looking very early, and really also understanding when it makes sense. When we look at digital, it's a little bit tricky because it depends. We kind of think, at one point something could be digital, and at some point it might not. And this might sound really weird, but I kind of look at email as a very good example. I think maybe 20 years ago, we thought by using email, we're becoming more digital. But now I actually think email is probably one of our biggest hindrance to becoming digital. Yeah. And I think a lot of it is really changing mindsets around that. So if you kind of think back to your organizations, think about how you're using email, not just for communication, but, using this for automation, for sending reports, for doing approvals, and everything's really through email. And you think about today now, is email really the place to, is it truly digital now to use email? So that's why, it really takes context and kind of the technology that's available and where we're at.
Yeah, it's great. Well, you brought up AI. So how are you all leveraging AI in the Air Canada space?
Using those 2 letters a lot. We all have different opinions of what AI is. I think, it's like digital, you can ask anyone, what's AI? There's a lot of subsets. You mentioned things like cognitive services, machine learning. One of the things that we talked about a lot in airlines when we talk about AI is the first thing we think about is predictive maintenance. It sounds really great, but in all honesty, for us, we haven't gotten there. We're still trying to get there. So that's a lot about big data, using that to predict, when a part's going to fail and coordinate our aircraft to be at the right city so that we can get it repaired properly without incurring a lot of costs. But AI also, to me, is really bringing back to the human experiences. How does that really help every individual, Air Canada, every employee, and extending it to our customers? I think AI is going to be pervasive. I watch a lot of, I'm going to be guilty of watching a lot of sci-fi type movies. One of the movies that really, really sticks to me, and don't laugh, it's a movie called Her. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Her. So if you haven't, go watch it. It's a very good example of what a potential AI experience could be, where you really have this digital, I don't want to say thing, this digital persona that's with you all the time. And as you're traversing between your different parts of your life, from personal to work to school, that persona will be connecting to other AIs and delivering that experience in that context. So, that's really looking far, far ahead. Right now, I think predict maintenance is probably a little bit more real, but really, one of the things is giving every employee that digital assistant, that concierge that's with them all the time when they come to work, providing information. And then really, as we start mixing other technologies like mixed reality, imagine the day that, as you're looking everywhere, information's just coming and recommendations are being provided. We tinker with the idea, I think I spoke to, wouldn't it be great if, maybe not, but if our gate agents was able to recognize a customer by name as they're approaching the gate, realize that, okay, this customer has this certain, this PNR, maybe missed a flight, lost a baggage, and already get that information and already have recommendation solutions. So by the time the customer approaches the agent, we already say, hey, this is what we can do for you. So that's kind of bringing it back to what that human experience should be with AI.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think that would be amazing, right?
Yeah, but I think it's far away.
For those of us that always look grumpy.
Yeah. But you kind of, I don't know if you were in one of the session at Envision, there was a lady talking, they say, think for that big target, but really take incremental approaches to get there. And it's like every technology, I think, as for us, what we do, it's, really teaching about what this technology can do and really, changing that mindset, preparing the mindset, but also the biggest part that our roles can play is really reducing complexity, making it, really so easy that's part of their everyday life. But at the same time, I think it's also important to start raising the levels of people's capability with digital. So.
Yeah, that's great. Good feedback. Yeah. How about we open it up for any questions anybody might have for Alan or myself? Anyone? Oh, everybody just wants to surface.
Or I solved everybody's problems.
Obviously, yeah. Okay, no question. Can you come to the microphone? Thank you.
Is it on? Is it on?
Yeah.
I was curious what Air Canada is doing with IoT. Have you started to utilize and instrument any of your devices and objects?
So, we always talk about particular newer aircrafts like the 787s and 777s. We used to call them flying computers. I think they're more like flying IoT sensors. We generate a lot of data. I mean, I think those aircrafts, every flight generates about 0.5 terabyte of data. Like everybody else, our challenge is figuring out what that data is, cleaning it up. We think IoT has a big play, not just on our aircrafts, but also at the airport. To create true intelligent automation, you almost need sensors everywhere. You need these sensors to be really doing what they used to call machine-to-machine communication. I think it's a big part. I think we're really still very early in it. I mean, we're still trying to figure out how to take that aircraft data, which is a form of IoT for us, and be able to do predictive maintenance. So, everybody's excited to get to the AI, but really what we've learned and the biggest struggle is the data. And it's just not whether we have the data, it's just we have so much data that we're spending a lot of time, validating it and cleaning it. So that's really the biggest challenge we have right now before we can actually get intelligence and automation out of it.
Great question, thank you.
So you alluded to getting away from email, right? Which I think would probably be Teams, right? Looking at that, when you consider looking at Teams, do you see, how do you see your gate agents utilizing a tool like that versus people that work in the office, and how do you see coordinated across both groups?
Yeah, so I think first of all, as a director, you lead by example. So with my group of team members, first thing I kind of reprimand very quickly, I don't want to see an email attachment. So my team almost communicates with me almost, I'd say 90 to 95% on Teams, all chat-based. Any file that we need to collaborate with, it's all on Teams. We almost send zero attachments. So we kind of take the benefits of the file, document collaboration, all that. Going to the frontline employees, it's actually interesting because one of the things I've been tasked to do is really to bring all those different operational groups I talked about and bring a communication, basically break down all the silos amongst those communications. And we actually we're very early, and what we're doing is we're actually looking at the Teams SDK and using that to take our development team to build kind of unique experiences that apply to the operational folks, but because it's still running on really Teams technology for both the operational folks and the office people, the management, it should be seamless regardless of what endpoint or what application they're doing. So we have some really crazy plans and ideas to do something really, really cool with Teams SDK. If we make it, maybe in 5 years I'll come and present it. So
That'd be great. Anyone else? Oh, can you, sorry. Just really hard for people to hear.
Do you have any tips for folks on how you handled some of the challenges with adopting this new technology, especially with your varied personas and roles?
So I have a very inappropriate way of describing it. So I'll do the appropriate way. It's really emotions. You'd be surprised, and I know we're technology, but really it's really, if you think about adoption of technology, when you look at adoption of iPhones, you look at adoption of Apple TV, you look at adoption of Alexa, it's that first experience or first scene experience that really grabs at them emotionally. So what we do is we want to get them at that level, and what we do is when we do a lot of team sessions, so we actually open up and did scheduled sessions for IT, and what it does is it grabs them. We kind of focus in on what's going to kind of make them realize this is going to make me or my life better at work. So it's really key to kind of grab them emotionally, and then really then very quickly identify the ones who are going to become really heavy users of this tool or technology, who's really going to be even more innovative than our group, and then really support them, because what's going to happen is they're going to spread that. And one thing we've discovered, which is a bit sad, is our employees trust each other more than IT. So if I can get an employee to recommend Teams, it's a lot better than me going to say, hey, use Teams. And you've seen this. It's kind of like seeing how tools like Trello, Slack, how they invade. It's because somebody said, hey, this is great, and recommend, because there's that trust. And I think a lot of it is that IT has been kind of so bogged down. We've lost a little bit of that trust. So I think, we call them, a lot of places call them champions or things like that. Those are the people we invest in a lot, and they're the ones that then help spread that goodness of whatever tool we're trying to do. And Teams adoption, I don't know if Microsoft has a pretty good dashboard with the adoption of tools. And as we started promoting Teams, we're actually starting to see this, upward trend of adoption. And we actually publicly said, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say it, for us, Skype is dead. Skype for Business is dead to us. And for us, it's Teams. And we actually go with that because we had a lot of challenges with Skype. We had to kind of, take a big humility pill and say we were wrong with Skype for Business in our enterprise. That's us. It didn't work as well as we'd like. And Teams going forward. And so we admitted that. And now the Teams adoption is actually coming along quite nicely and well. And one of the best things we like to hear is that people stop talking about Slack. They start talking about Teams. So that's a big measure of success when people start talking about something other than kind of that thing that their friend or colleague recommends.
Well, that's great because, it is all about what's going to work in your environment, right? So, you have to be honest about that. And, it sounds like you all know your end users well enough to know, okay, we need to move on from that and deploy something else that's going to make sense, right?
And what we do, we actually do general sessions for something like Teams so that we get a big audience. And then we kind of say, hey, if you're interested, gather your group. So if it's finance, HR, and then we do a deeper dive session. Then they get to ask questions that's specific to them. So then we start helping them solve or at least open their eyes and say, hey, I can do this. And, HR, finance, there's got to be more departments. Anyways, they're all different.
Yep.
So IT, and it's surprising, IT is probably the one of the least innovative users. It's really the business groups that's going to innovate. So we've then dived deep with the different operational group. I've met with flight ops, and they were blown away. I've met with maintenance. So then we go, and then we just kind of do more sessions with them. And our commitment is, we'll do sessions as often as you want, as often as there are people attending, and we'll repeat this over and over and help you bring value out of the tools that we're introducing.
Yeah, it's great insight. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, y'all want to see who wins the Surface? Alan? Well, you can't draw because you entered. Anybody? Yeah, thank you, Alan. Did anybody not enter that wants to be entered? No. Nope. Got one? You got a business card? We got all day, right? Oh, no, we'll know what that is. You can't do a piece of paper. Okay. Oh, okay. I can't believe the whole room didn't go, oh, I forgot mine, and put another one in. Okay, I'm now looking. Peter Malajero? Malajero? Malaeir. Congratulations. Come up and say a few words. I'm just kidding. I won't make it. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Okay. Thank you all. Appreciate you joining us. Thank you.